A win's a win.
It's like the medal changes, but
yeah, exactly.
really close. So now we switch to the varsity fours here. So these boats have 4 plus a coxswain versus 8 plus a coxswain. And so a little bit slower, about a minute, let's say 50 seconds to a minute slower, but certainly no less important for these guys. And it's always fun to have tight fours racing, that first heat coming down here. So looks like here we'll set this up for you. Cornell lane 0, Penn lane 1, Duke lane 2, Ohio State lane 3, Washington State lane 4, Oklahoma lane 5, Oregon State lane 6. Texas certainly love to have win all 3 of their races if they can this morning.
Typically, the smaller boat there, or the smaller boats, there's smaller room for error. You really want to be synchronized in all of your movements here in a boat with 4 people versus 8. You can get away with a little bit more not being together in the 8, but in a smaller boat, you really want to make sure that you're really in tune with moving with the person in front of you and synchronized with them.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, that you can be a little more disruptive in a 4, but you also can add a lot of value in
exactly,
a 4.
Exactly.
Just real fun for these guys. So just here in the first heat, looks like Ohio State maybe a couple seats up over there, over on Duke, maybe a seat or two up. Ohio State over, actually might even be over there. Looks like that might be Cornell, also close up there, as well as Oklahoma. So lane 0, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, all tight there. Maybe Washington State just off the pack, but we saw Washington State come back in some other races, so maybe a little bit slower starting than some of the other teams there. Oregon State also in that mix there, and maybe Oklahoma just falling a bit off the pace. Ohio State now maybe 2 seats up on, let's say, it looks like to be Duke, and then Oklahoma, maybe just a seat behind that, but close for that second, Duke and Oklahoma. Also on the outside, looks like Penn's right in that mix with Cornell, so those two seem to battle lane 0 and 1 in all these races.
One of the, aside from the number of rowers in the boat, you'll notice the difference. The coxswain sits in a different position in the boat rather than sitting in the back of the boat. The coxswain here in the 4 sits in the front, and so she has an unobstructed view of what's going on in front of her, which is kind of an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it certainly changes when the coxswain can't see what's going on, whereas in Nate they can see what's going on. So different game for them, and it certainly takes a different skill set. Ohio State now looks to be about 3/4 of a length up on looks to be Duke in second, and then tight battle for third there between lanes 0, 1, and 5. So between Cornell, Penn, and Oklahoma. Good battle there for third, fourth, fifth, and then Washington State looks to be in 6th, Oregon State in 7th at this time. Duke maybe just pulling out on Oklahoma a bit. Certainly also looks like Penn is starting to move a little bit in Oklahoma as well, so that far side continuing to push. Ohio State trying to get a full length here if they can. Looks to be maybe 800 into the race, and Ohio State would like to get a full length before they get to that 1,000-meter mark. So Duke's still in second here, maybe just under a length behind Ohio State. Trying to push out on looks like Penn now has moved out on Cornell. So Penn in third. Oklahoma also close with Cornell for fourth. Again, slow starts in the other races, but they've been coming back each race and to be competitive here. So third would certainly help, if not second for that matter. Maybe you can come out to first. Ohio State kind of sitting here just about a length up.
A little bit lower of a stroke rate in the 4s, which is I would say pretty typical, wouldn't you, Steve? To the smaller boat, you're going to be a little bit lower than in the 8.
Yeah, probably a beat or 2 below.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a little bit longer race, just a little bit slower, but not much.
Yeah, it's only a beat or 2. These crews are somewhere between 34 and 36 right now through the body of the piece.
Looks like Washington State now is pulled into 5th, so they were kind of maybe 7th off the line, 6th off the line. Looks like they've moved through Cornell here into that 5th spot and trying to close the gap in Oklahoma to 4th. If they can get a shot there, maybe catch Duke there at the end for them. But Duke's certainly holding on to that 2nd spot and doing well right now, staying in distance to Ohio State. So Ohio State in the camera here looks to be, we're probably about just over 1,000-meter mark, and Ohio State just about a length over Duke. Duke just about maybe a length there over 3rd place as well.
With the longer race, it does give the teams more time to make different moves and to have lead changes. You're looking at times that are going to be significantly longer than in an 8's race, which tends to go by pretty quickly. So there's more time for the lead to change and different crews to kind of execute a race plan that will move them comparatively to the other boats in the race.
So you see Oklahoma hanging in there well there. Oklahoma looks to be in third, very close with Penn. Washington State just past Cornell, but certainly that mix from third to sixth is a good battle there with Oregon State just off the pace in seventh. So it's third to sixth there between Cornell, Penn, Washington State, and Oklahoma. That battle is going to be key to everyone progresses for tomorrow morning. Ohio State clearly first, Duke clearly second at this point, and then a tight battle if they can race each other to get back into the mix. See Duke clearly out there in second, and then Oklahoma. Again, the vantage point's a little bit interesting to see, but Oklahoma and Penn very tight. Washington State maybe 3/4 of a length off that battle for third, maybe half a length up on Cornell in that fifth, sixth spot. That camera shot's showing that buoy's the last 500 meters, which is about, say, minute 45, minute 50 to go in fours races before the finish.
From a mental perspective, it's very hard when you're in a position where you're not next to another boat and you have open water either up or down on another boat to continue to push, either to move closer towards the lead or to push away from the boats that are behind you. It can be. You can tend to be complacent. It's a little bit easier to be comfortable where you are seated. So it's fun to watch these girls push to try to continue to move and make gains on the other boats that are out there.
So Ohio State clearly in the lead, Duke clearly in second, and looks to be shaping up again. That good battle for third through sixth. Washington State continued to move on the field, kind of coming back from sixth to maybe battling for fourth, fifth. But Oklahoma stayed in there in third for some of the last 500 meters or so. Oklahoma's held their own and trying not to let some maybe in the second varsity 8. Oklahoma wants to hold their own there. So again, Ohio State open water up, Duke open water up on that pack of four for that third place spot. Again, a little deceiving to see here, but
looks like they're just entering the red buoys here, maybe.
Yeah, last 250 or so for these guys, and you can tell again first and second pretty obvious, but beyond that, looks to be Penn certainly up on Cornell. The other two boats aren't in the screen yet, but they're certainly competitive and maybe ahead. They certainly were earlier. Looks like Ohio State had something of a digger there. They're not in danger just because they're so far up, but that certainly cost them 3 or 4 seconds there. And when I say digger, just got their work caught there a bit, and that happens.
But it gets sucked underwater. I mean, you're moving pretty quickly, and if you don't put that blade in completely on the square, it'll get sucked under.
Yeah, that's where these early races are good to kind of get those jitters out of the way, and didn't impact in placing, but they certainly would rather not have that than to have it. So Ohio State coming through the last couple strokes here, clearly ahead. Let's say a good length of water up, and then Duke about a length of water behind. Duke clearly in second, and then we'll see for third. Looks like that's Oklahoma has held on to that third spot. Washington State in fourth. Looks like they came through. Had the Ivies there with Penn in fifth, Cornell sixth, and that'll put Oregon State in seventh here. So good battle there, first to seventh. We'll start setting up the second heat here before giving you some times. So next heat will be Clemson in lane 0, Gonzaga lane 1, as Oregon State comes through there. Lane 2, Texas lane 3, Syracuse lane 4, Tennessee lane 5, Columbia lane 6 for the second heat of the varsity 4. So Ohio State led wire to wire there, as they did in the 2V, and Texas led wire to wire in the 1V, 2V as well. We'll look to do that, replicate that in the 4.
Second heat appears to be off the line cleanly.